In this video, we're going to be talking about the Imola F1 circuit. If you're interested in learning how to drive this circuit, how to master this circuit, what sort of characteristics the circuit has, and what sort of car setup you'll be going for, then definitely keep watching. Welcome back to the channel, guys. My name is Martin. I'm a specialist technical coach and mentor for open formula drivers. In this video, we're going to be talking about the Imola F1 circuit. I'm going to give you a rundown on the characteristics, how to set up the car, what you should be looking to achieve, and how to drive the track as well. We're also going to jump on the sim together and do a lap. I'm going to show you how I like to drive the Imola F1 circuit. One of my favorite circuits, very, very tight, like track width. So kind of line locked in a lot of places, very narrow, very old school, not much runoff, and characterized by the curbs as well. So really getting an understanding of those curbs and how to ride and connect in with them in the right way is going to be crucial. Now, the track also has a lot of elevation, crests, dips, cambers as well. So having a sort of agile car, one that's a little bit more dynamic, something that can ride the bumps really well, and together with your inputs, what you're going to be doing over these bumps as well, is really important, because you just want the car to be settled over the bumps when you're turning and braking and downshifting over a bump or over a crest or connecting in with a curb or a chicane. You just want to make sure you got the car nice and settled. So that's what we're going to be looking for. And just that's kind of my general philosophy on how you want to approach this circuit. Let's take a look at the track map now and see what we can identify on the track map. And then we'll do the slow lap and fast lap together as well. All right, hopefully you can see that on the screen in front of you. So we've got the start finish line, and the blue indicates the DRS zone down the main straight. This is the pit straight. It's quite a long straight, so we didn't have this in 2005, 2006 years. There was obviously, I think, the final chicane here. So this has changed a little bit from being like ultra high downforce to kind of medium high downforce. There is a trade-off to be had here, but I would still argue that downforce is going to be key, together with, of course, the compliance of the car. And when we talk about compliance, we're talking about how well the car navigates the bumps and rides the curbs and deals with difference in undulation and corner types and so on. So you come down the pit straight, DRS is wide open. Now, crucially, it's kind of a curved braking zone when you get down to turn one. So this is the first mistake, is that I see people diagonally shoot across braking into turn. Well, I call it turn one, but obviously they've got turn one here. So that highlights my point that this straight kind of has a few kinks and bends in it. So you just got to make sure that coming into turn two, which is the first chicane, that the car is parallel to the racetrack and that it's going to give you a good turn into the turn three, which is basically the first, into turn two, sorry, which is basically the first corner and first chicane. So the key for me here is that you really want to connect in with this turn two chicane. That's the most important thing. If you can do that well and do that nicely and do that with the right technique, that's going to allow you to get on throttle straighter, earlier and harder, and run the car pretty much flat through four and down into the Villeneuve chicane, which is turn five. Similar sort of thing I'm looking for here. Again, how well can you ride the turn five left-hander chicane, and how well does that open you up for six? So that's the general theme here, guys, in the first two chicanes, is how well can you connect into the first one? Because if you can do that and keep the car stable over that first curb, you're all good. You're going to have a happy run through 3, 4, and 6 as well. So, by the way, guys, just looking at technical corners here, we've got chicane, and as I noticed, turn 7, it's like a bit of a hairpin. So we've got 3 technical corners to start the track. If you're not familiar with my technical corners, the 7 technical corners and how to approach them and how to set the car up for them and how to drive them, I'll put a link in the description of this video where you can download my PDF cheat sheet on the 7 technical corners. So we've got chicane, which is called the Tamburello chicane, the first chicane, and then you've got Villeneuve chicane, and then you've got the Tosa hairpin. So this hairpin is not the truest definition of a hairpin in terms of like Chinese hairpin, where it really comes to a point, comes to a stop. It kind of drags on a little bit long, so you could potentially try the short corner approach. I just feel like sometimes there's more grip if you can just get into the corner a little bit earlier, and don't worry, the exit will take care of itself. So I feel like if you run a little bit deep here, it's just harder to get the rotation done. So that might have to do with the corner camber as well. And when we go out on track, I'll show you what I mean there. And now you got an uphill drive through turn 8. It's flat. It's pretty much a straight up to turn 9, which is Piratella, I believe. But here is really important when you're driving uphill. You want to make sure that you're revving the gears out a lot more than usual so that the car can power up this hill. That's really important. So as you go into turn 9, it's a fast left-hand flick. It's like 1 or 2 gears down and in you go. And the most important thing, as with most of the corners, is your line through here. Just keeping it nice and tidy and keeping the car nice and straight on exit so you can pin the throttle, and now you come downhill. And if you remember, this is where George Russell crashed on the exit of turn 10 under the safety car, because you're coming downhill, so the rear gets unloaded. He put a little bit too much throttle on while he was going over this crest, and then he ended up in the wall on the left here between turns 10 and 11. And this takes you into the Aqua Minerale chicane. It's not so much of a chicane. It's more of like a first right-hander that leads you into a second right-hander, and the exit is flat. So it's more like I'm more interested in the turn 11 and turn 12 right-handers. And it's downhill, like I say, turning and braking at the same time, downshifting at the same time as well. So how you use and combine all those elements is crucial to keep the car flat and stable. The key here will be getting the steering wheel straight between 11 and 12. If you can run a line that allows you to turn through 11, get the steering wheel straight and then brake, perfect, because you're going to get the most braking capacity, and you can then trail into turn 12 and carry speed, connect in with that chicane. And away you go uphill again into Variante Alta. Variante Alta means long chicane because it's got a straight here and a straight there. So it's got these long straights either end of it, or like tall chicane, Alta. So anyway, you come uphill here, 13. And as you come up to 14, again uphill. So the same thing we did at turn 8. You're going to rev the gears out as you go uphill through Variante Alta, a really tricky, challenging chicane. Again, it's just how the car rides the curbs. You saw Charles Leclerc crash here on the exit of turn 15 in the wet. So if you take too much curb, obviously it's going to really unsettle the car. But you want to shortcut this as much as possible and get on throttle early as possible, because you got this long downhill straight here into Ravazza 1 and Ravazza 2. So when you come downhill, again, it's going to be different to what you do uphill. You're going to shift the gears a little bit earlier, because you don't want to, you're wasting RPM if you're just revving out in the normal range. So let's say the normal shift point is 11.8. You want to shift maybe 11.6, 11.7 just to get through the gears quickly and, build the momentum and build the speed. So this is really critical because this is downhill braking, really heavy downhill braking zone into Ravazza 1. So it's really important that you use the gears as much as possible. Pull back hard with the engine braking, not so much with the brake pedal. Just kind of a more gentle, progressive introduction. But yeah, that's exactly what I'd be looking for into turn 17. The first is just pull back hard with the engine braking, come through here, get the steering wheel straight before turn 18 again. And here's a little trick that I like to do into turn 18. It's generally between third and fourth gear. So instead of shifting up to fourth and having the RPM therefore lower, I don't like that. I like to rev out third gear super hard, or whatever gear it is. I think it's third or fourth, but I like to rev that gear hard on the run down to 18, because when I lift off the throttle for 18, and that's the most important part in Ravazza 2 is that lift and how much braking you get from that lift, then I want as much engine braking as possible when I come out of the throttle for 18, so that the car really pulls back with that lift. If I was to shift up a gear before then and then do the same lift, I feel like the engine braking, the engine retardation wouldn't be as strong as it would be with the high RPM. So that's why I choose to not shift up. It's got to do with when I lift, how much pullback and engine braking do I get? Because I'm not keen on using the brake pedal into 18. I'm more keen on the lift and the turning doing most of the job for me. And what that allows you to do is keep the car super, super square, super flat, nice, stable, aerodynamic platform. You come into 18 and you can put the traction down, put the throttle down nice and hard. Again, steering wheel straight on the exit. Fastest way to the line will be to hug this to the right. So don't take like a normal line down the middle. Hug it to the right, shortest distance to the line. And there you go. So I hope that helps you guys in terms of just having a look at the circuit. Some of the undulations, obviously you can't see them here, but when we get onto the track proper, this will all make sense. So let's do that now. Okay, so we're starting the lap now, just coming across the pit straight. This is the DRS zone, activates there. And this is what I was saying about staying to the right to finish the lap. Obviously, you're not going to do that if you're starting the lap. And as we head down to turn 1, again, I just want to show you how this curves. So it curves to the right, and then it curves to the left into the first braking zone. So what you don't want to do, therefore, is just come in diagonally straight. You want to make sure that come braking, you're as far to the right, keeping in mind that you do run out of road here. And this is where George Russell crashed with Bottas, because it runs out of road. So you do need to have a little bit of left steering, but it might be better to have the car straight at this position, braking for turn 1. And then, yeah, just before the 50, do your downshifts. And this is the most important part here, is how well can you clip in with this curb and exit here, so that the rest is just throttle work and short shifting thereafter, and the rest of it is flat. So that's the Tamburello chicane. Keep it flat here. And again, open the steering and keep it flat down to the Villeneuve chicane. Again, the most important thing is going to be the entry here. So how much of this curb can you take while the car is settled? That's going to give you the easiest time. I do like to take a little bit here. That would be ideal. And then run the car out to the Villeneuve chicane, exit curb. So here's an interesting point where you have to make a racing line switch, and the decision is, do you stay where you are and drive a tight line into this hairpin, or do you bring the car out all the way to the extremity and sweep in and drive a wider line, carrying more speed in? I prefer a compromise of both, to be honest. I prefer not all the way to the edge, but not also the tight line either. Traction, very important coming out of here, so you might want to shift up to third early. And this is where I'm talking about, where it's uphill and you just need to really power as much as possible through here, and just power up this hill using the high RPM, getting the car to pull up this hill. And this is towards Piratella. You stay to the right here as it comes over the crest, a few gears down. And like I said before, the line is really important here, just so that the car's flat on the exit and you can bury the throttle. Coming downhill over the crest, this is where George Russell crashed because the rear got light. He ended up going into that wall here. This was under a safety car. But this is Acqua Minerale. And like I say, before you're turning and braking at the same time, downshifting as well. So here's important, because you're turning. Do you get a moment where the steering wheel can relax a little bit, where you can pin the brakes a bit harder and then go in, connect with these curbs? Again, uphill climbing. In this case, you're short shifting for traction, but then now you're revving out. So that you're short shifting for traction, but then you're revving the car out as you go uphill. It just pops over this little crest. I like to brake at the curb there. And then again, all the usual chicane work, making sure that you get the nose into this part and then around the second part for best traction out. And here's where you're going downhill. You might want to shift a little bit earlier from this point onwards. Grab the 8th gear a little bit earlier. Again, turn and straight line the braking. And this is where I said pull back with a lot of gears as much as possible. That's the most important thing. And then take this curb here, and what you want to do then is open the steering. This is where I think a lot of the lap time is. If you can open the steering, rev the car out, and then just lift and go into the second part of Ravazza 2, that's where you're going to find the most time. Let's do the fast lap now and see how we get on. So there you go, guys. I hope that video helps you. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section for me below, and I'll see you in the next one.